have the privilege of speaking at the NALS conference in York today, and before I go on stage, we've just had time to catch up with Sean Hooker, Head of Redress at the Property Redress Scheme. And Sean, it's coming up to 6 months since you launched and went live on the 1st of October 2014. How's the first 6 months of the PRS been?
It's been very good, actually. You know, the first deadline that we came through was October. We had a lot of response and people coming on board. But since then, you know, we've still kept the pressure up there, and there are people still sneaking back into the scheme, you know, realising that they have to do it. With any compliance issue, you're always going to find people not knowing about it. But I think the local authorities are putting on some pressure now, and they're coming over and joining, which has been fantastic. And
how much redress have you actually had to do? Have you seen complaints coming through?
Complaints have started coming through, well, at least the notifications of it. To be fair, I've not handled a huge number at the final stage because we are encouraging the agents to deal with the complaints at the earlier stage. So we're getting a lot of people coming to us and saying, I'm not happy, but we're sending them back to the agent to try and you know, get a resolve. And the agents are being quite canny in making sure that they get that complaint dealt with, which is part of what the scheme's all about.
Because I think it's quite challenging times in the private rented sector, and lots of issues affecting landlords and lettings agents, and the general election is bringing some uncertainty and so on. What do you see as the main challenges?
I think it's about communication, and I think that the whole theme, I think, of NALS is that the agents should be out there communicating and spreading what they actually do. The more you tell your customers about what you offer and the protections that they have, the more aware they're going to be and the safer they're going to feel in the industry, and that's the important thing.
It is. Confidence from the consumer is absolutely vital. Now, you've recently released a guide and about lettings agents' fees, and it's quite interesting that you're now creating some of this really valuable content. Tell us a little bit about your guide.
Well, the guide's basically there to try and make agents aware of what is fair and proportional in terms of fees. It's not for the ombudsman schemes to dictate what fees should be charged. The market, quite rightly, should have the power to set the fees that are appropriate. But it is about making sure that the communication's in place, that you are getting you're charging a fair and proportionate amount of fees for the work that you undertake. So we've produced a guide and for the agent to have a look at and say, and ask themselves some questions. Is that fee for a service that I'm providing the right level for what I'm actually providing? Do I explain that clearly to the customer, and the customer's both landlord and tenant? Am I charging both parties for the same service, whether inadvertently or not? Is the right person paying the fee? Should the landlord be paying a fee that the tenant is paying, and vice versa? And once that, you know, we can start getting that message out and that transparency, then I think that the issue of whether fees are charged and whether they're fair or whether they're excessive, I think will go away. But it's up to the agent to spread that word. You know, it's not for us to tell them what fee that they can charge.
But also for landlords and tenants to know to ask the questions as well, I think.
Absolutely.
Actually, one of our members, Adam Hosker on Property Tribes, commented on your guide, and he said, why can't the PRS set caps of a maximum fee to show not to go over that? Because he said, what is excessive? How do you determine that? And I think that's a valid point.
Well, I think, you know, again, we're not a regulator. If government want to set a cap on fees, then that's up to them. We can only look at that each case on an individual basis. And what may be a fair fee in one case may be excessive in another. It's about looking at the circumstances and to ensure that you can demonstrate and justify why you are charging that fee. And if it doesn't smell right, then it probably is excessive. So, and agents know. They know what the services they provide, and if there is a situation where they are not providing that service, they should have the courage to turn around and say, well, actually, in this particular case, we'll make a refund or not make that charge.
Well, it's very much in the headlines at the moment in terms of the media and also in the Consumer Rights Bill and all these things. So I think there's going to be more on this topic throughout the year.
Absolutely, and I think you know, once the legislation through for transparency, I think that will be very helpful. Because you know, you will then have a direct comparison for the consumer to look at prices, and that you know, those agents that are providing good services, you know, and are transparent, will get a competitive edge because people will see the value for money they're getting rather than you know, go in at the lowest price and then find that there's a load of charges that they didn't know about.
Right. No, I totally agree with you there. Well, it's great to have your input and support for Property Tribes,
Absolutely.
Sean. We
It's
really
always a
appreciate it, and Property Tribes wants to be a place where we can disseminate the information that the organisations such as PRS are producing, because it's very valuable to our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you.